Friday is a classic, but back when it was being filmed, it had everything going against it. With being low budget, having an underdog cast, and on top of all that, having a director who's never touched the movie before. The cast themselves even thought the movie was horrible. But despite all the odds, the movie was a hit. On a $3.5 million budget, the movie brought back $27 million in the box office. The once underdog cast became Hollywood superstars. Friday cemented itself in the history books as one of the best hood movies of all time. And then we got the sequels. Now don't get me wrong, I love Next Friday and Friday After Next. But to compare it to the original, it's literally night and day. Are they funny? Yes. Do they have iconic characters? Yes. But there's just something missing. Something that made the original Friday such a cult classic. You know what? Ain't no need to talk anymore. Here's why you just can't recreate Friday. Let's get into it.
I know you don't smoke weed. I know this.
The best way to describe the characters on Friday is simply real. And I know I say that a lot, but listen to me, Mike. There's a reason why I always list characters having that real and authentic feel as a positive. It's because that's when you can sympathize with them more. That's when you can understand them more. That's when you can relate to them more. I mean, everybody on screen in this movie feels real. They feel like somebody that you've seen before or that you know yourself. How many people know somebody like Smokey? How many people got a sister like Dana? How many people got a mom and dad like them? And it's that relatability that just adds to the charm of not only the characters, but the movie as a whole. And now you take that aspect of the original and you compare it to the sequels, where the returning cast gets turned into exaggerated versions of their previous selves. And the new cast are basically cartoon characters. Yes, you can get a good laugh out of them, but that's about it. I'm not really feeling nothing more for these characters. And I just feel like somewhere down the line of the writing process, Ice Cube and DJ Pooh forgot about that real and relatable aspect of the characters of the original that made them so special. Speaking of things they dropped the ball on, let's get into the story.
But I'm gonna get you high today.
The thing I love most about Friday's story is that it's just so simple. The movie is literally just about two dudes sitting on the porch chilling, with some tension thrown in. Some well-calculated tension. It was built up over time. It didn't just come out of nowhere. When Craig and Smokey got shot at, they ain't come out of nowhere. That was built up from the very first scene Big Worm showed up in. When Craig fought Debo, we didn't even know that was about to happen. But it didn't come out of nowhere. It was built up. From the very first scene we seen Debo in, they showed us that he was a threat to the neighborhood. Everybody scared of him, nobody willing to challenge him. But then, Smokey says this.
Man, one day somebody gonna kick his ass.
That line right there puts the idea in our head that somebody possibly could challenge Debo. We just don't know who or when it could be. Till of course, we get to the end, and you see what happened. A chill, funny movie with subtle build-up and a satisfying payoff at the end. Now obviously, they seen what worked in the original, took those qualities, and they put it in the sequels. Minus everything that made those qualities good to begin with. In the second movie, we're introduced to the Joker brothers, who are supposed to be the new threat to the story. The only issue with that being, the Joker brothers posed no threat to the main characters until Craig and Day went and stole their money. So them getting arrested at the end of the movie was really no payoff for us. And if you're talking for real, Craig and them should have been the ones arrested, but you know, movie. Debo shows up again as a supposed threat, but his character basically get reduced to a joke, so ain't no need to mention him. We get to the third movie and we basically in cartoon land at this point. Like, what are we doing? Even coming down to the love interest in these stories, they feel so forced and unneeded. The love interest in these sequels literally serve no purpose. They're just there. Unlike Debbie, who actually served into the story. First off, when we meet Debbie, there's already an established relationship that she has with Craig and Smokey. And throughout the movie, we're shown subtly that Debbie has just as much feelings for Craig as he does for her. Until the end where she eventually asks him out. If they was gonna have love interest in these sequels, they could have at least continued with Debbie and built on that relationship her and Craig had, instead of just tossing her character to the side like she don't exist. And bringing other people getting tossed to the side, let's get to the next point.
You ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do.
Friday was F. Gary Gray's introduction into film directing. Before this, it was all music videos. But if you just take one look at this film, he will have you thinking he's been doing this for a good minute. Starting off with the location choice, with it being the neighborhood that he grew up in himself. With him being so familiar with the neighborhood, he was able to take it and make it feel alive, like the neighborhood itself was its own character. Same thing can't be said about Rancho Cucamonga, which just felt like a set piece. I mean, outside of Day-Day and his dad, the Korean lady, and the Joker brothers, you honestly can't tell me anybody else lives in this neighborhood. It feels so empty, which makes it feel so fake. The apartments on Friday After Next got the same feel. Also with Gary V, we have to talk about these camera angles, because for such a simple movie, he really went above and beyond. He keeps the shots interesting, even when they're just having conversation. Like he didn't need to do this for such a simple movie, but he did. And as a result, the movie is more memorable for it. He kept the film focused, never stopped the movie for a joke, and most importantly, as I said in the beginning, he kept it real and grounded. Now this is not to diss the other directors of the sequels, Steve Carr and Marcus Robbie, because at the end of the day, every director has their own style. Steve's style being more animated and bouncy, sticking to more family films, while Marcus mainly just do comedian stand-up stuff. I don't even know why he did this. But although everybody has their own style, I feel like it's just undeniable that F. Gary Gray's works the best with a story like Friday. To put all of this in simple terms, when the original becomes a cult classic and is perfect in its own right, leave it alone. Speaking of movies they should leave alone, go ahead and check out my video on House Party, because they seem to be running that franchise into the ground.